of my thoughts to myself is that for a person that is normally quite confident, how weak I feel when I have any kind of assessment, it bodes fear into me, because it's, what am I going to be asked next? This assessment is there supposedly to help, but it never is like a help. It's always like the Spanish Inquisition. It's always that sort of, what is going on? You need to tell us about this, etc., etc., etc. And it's just bombarding of calls and words. And I think that for anyone that goes through assessments, you need to almost have an assessment afterwards to be assessed. It's that situation of where that you need to have an assessment before you have the assessment to see if you can actually cope with the assessment. And it's a really weird situation to be in. When they're coming to assess you, they've got part of your life in their hands. So if they're assessing and then it's a negative, then you're going to lose something, either a service, you're going to lose money, or you're wanting to better your own health and social surroundings. And you've got to jump through hoops and rings where people don't know you. You're never going to see these people again, ever. And they've never seen you before in the first place. You've got at most an hour with that person, and they're going to assess you for whatever service that is, and they're going to ask you all these questions. How are they going to know? I know there needs to be processes, but I think that the processes need to be much more human, much more realistic. And I've had some good assessments, don't get me wrong, but I've had some assessments where that, I've sat there afterwards and I've just literally broke down, and there's no one to turn to.
I think that's something a lot of people who work at social services don't understand. And it's not a mean thing. I just don't think they understand how much fear there is in the system. I will never phone social services to ask them a question because I worry it will trigger a review. And it's not that I've got anything to hide or I'm doing anything wrong, but every time there's a review, there's that fear. What if this is the time my care is stripped away? What if they take something away that I desperately need and I can't fight for it to come back? And that actually happened this year, ironically, the thing I've been fearing the most. So yeah, suddenly out of the blue, I got an email after I'd asked for help for funding towards my wheelchair. They said I needed to have a review early. And then they said I'd come up for monitoring. And so my support plan was looked at for the first time since it was put together originally. Had the review, all went fine. And then a couple of weeks later, I got an email saying, oh, by the way, we're cutting loads of things from your budget. Here's a list. The email ended, I know you won't be happy with this. I'm going on holiday now, from my social worker. So the turmoil that caused, the utter fear. All we really want with this care and support is to be able to live our lives. And once you've got to the point, it might not be perfect, but even if you've got something in place, which means you can do that to a certain extent, I just don't think anyone can comprehend the fear of that just being ripped away. And to just suddenly get this email, instead of talking about it to me face to face, treating me like a human being, instead of saying we need to discuss this and the reasons why, just to get this email being like, yeah, sorry, it's all being cancelled, and then sort of goodbye, good luck kind of attitude.
I never realized the intimacy that was involved in actually having to bear all to anybody about your needs, and being completely helpless, not being able to do anything for myself. I felt like I was overwhelmed with the questions I was being asked, because even though it was pretty evident that I couldn't do anything and connect the dots, that wasn't taken into account. It was just about the fact that we only have this to offer. So you work around this, or else we can't help you. I've never been in a system to that extent where I knew what was available, what wasn't available. I've never experienced what I experienced then. So how am I supposed to have an idea whether you do supply this or you don't supply this? I should know all of this somehow. I don't. I'm asking you, can you please help me? Help means help. It's about what can you do for yourself? And what could help you to live a reasonably supported life where you can function and feel valuable again in society. And also, when you're asking for things, you're asking because you're wanting to find out what is available. How do you know what you need? Only by experience, surely. I have to go through the experience, see what works or doesn't work. Now my house literally doesn't suit my needs. So come and help me to support me through that process. And the other thing which got me really upset was to be told that the company that I had been using, I couldn't make them my choice. I've got to get another person who I've got to train to know how my system works in my kitchen. It's another job for me. And I've just gone through 6 to 8 weeks with these people who know me backwards. What are you saying? What's the difference? Oh, no, we don't do it like that. I mean, what does that mean? We don't do it like that. Why can't you do it like that if it suits me and my needs? And then, of course, the financial side of it as well. It's amazing what you're supposed to know.
The thought of having to request a review every time I want something to change is just awful, daunting. It's that stomach churning feeling of, oh, what's going to happen? But I know for my son, it causes him so much anxiety. But then I've got the aftermath of that because he's then panicking that things are going to change and people are going to come into the house. And it does make him struggle for quite a number of weeks afterwards. You can explain it to social, but they do not understand the severity of the anxiety that it can cause. Like I've done videos of him stomping up and down the stairs, thumping himself. He blames himself. He's stupid. I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. And it's really heart-wrenching. So that goes through my mind every time I think about having to make an appointment for anything.
I've had experience in the last year where my social worker didn't know the Care Act. I was quoting the Care Act to her. I'm not expecting every social worker to know the Care Act inside and out, but when they don't know the basics, it's really frustrating, especially when they're telling you things that are complete opposite to what's in the Care Act as fact. And it's only because of my voluntary work that I have gleaned information. I don't know the Care Act inside and out whatsoever, but there are some things that I just knew were outright incorrect. And yeah, it becomes very difficult and frustrating. I've also had some fantastic experiences and fantastic social workers over the years, so I know what it can be like, and I think that makes it harder. I had one social worker who seemed to take an instant dislike to me. That's how it felt. And the conversation just got worse and worse. That's where it's this fear factor comes in, because you're almost stumbling over yourself to not offend the social worker that holds all the power. She asked me for my daily logs, and I was like, what daily logs? I've never been asked to keep daily logs. And she became very angry and very insistent that I would have been told at some point to keep daily logs. I've had a direct payment for more than a decade. I've never even heard the term daily logs from a social worker. And she was saying it would have been in the contract that you initially signed. It wasn't. I didn't have it to hand at that point, but I later found it. She said that she could not review me without daily logs. It was impossible to evidence my need, I think is how she phrased it. But every other social worker has evidenced my need by talking to me. Then she started the threat of, no, we will have to reassess you. Your need has changed and you need to complete these daily logs. It's impossible to review you without. And this conversation ended with her storming out of my house and refusing to complete the review. To my shock, a few weeks later, she sends me the review document of the review that she refused to complete, which she has now completed in her own time, using a lot of imagination. So I laugh now. At the time, it was not funny. The lies in this review had me in tears at the time. She had just made things up.
You mentioned something about the experience being better recently. What was it that was better?
They came in with a blank sheet of paper and said, what do you need? And that approach for me was a much more relaxed approach, but also gave me time to adjust and get used to working with other people. They took their time to find out what I could actually still do, what I couldn't physically or mentally or otherwise do. And they also made sure that when they did allocate the time, it was enough time not to rush me through the processes again. That to me made a difference because I was able to be enthusiastic about them coming into my house because I didn't feel bullied.